So just going back, knight e4. It is not so forced as it is made to appear here. Actually, it is not so forced that all the moves, but bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6, d takes. If d takes e5, then at least the next 2-3 moves are forced. But after again bishop to e4, again there are a lot of possibilities. But we have seen like knight to d4, bishop to e7, and then what did we see? Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, and bishop h6. So bishop h6, white is threatening to destroy black's pawn structure, give two isolated.
But is it? I thought you said that giving up the bishop is not good for the knight.
Yes. So, that is such a complicated question, right? I mean, the bishop versus knight is a.
Yes, but just earlier you said that we should not give up the bishop for the knight in most circumstances. So is the double pawns that worth it?
So it depends, and it is not. Sometimes it may be worth it, sometimes it is not. So that is why actually here it looks as if it is worth it, but you find that the other side has got equal resources, so it is not really. So it is actually, it's a very delicate question. In fact, entire books have been written on just the question of bishop versus knight. Entire books. Okay. So, and one of my favorite grandmasters, English grandmaster, I think John Nunn, I think he has written a knight book, and he's a very thorough. He's a mathematician as well as a grandmaster. All right, and just like Emmanuel Lasker was, or Max Uwe was. So, and he's a very thorough guy. So he has written, I think, a book, and there are others also have written. So it's a very, very interesting and never-ending topic of, and what is in the opening, what is there in the middle game, what is there in the end game. End game also, there are certain end games when obviously there are some clear end games when you know that knight is better or bishop is better, but sometimes there are counter examples of that. What looks like this should be good for knight, but actually it is better for bishop in that particular position. So a lot of thing goes on. Okay, but here let us see here what is white's strategy. So white has captured back the piece, and not only that, he wants to give one more isolated double pawn for black. Already has given one, but he thinks he can give one more. So black castles, and then he goes to knight to c6. Now with the, because he's threatening the rook also on d8, and then double attack on e7. So that is why black has forced to capture on c6, and then white rook captures, and your rook has gone to 7th rank. So now you think it is it dead end for black? But there is a key difference.
So even though black can get to the white second rank, the pawns on the black queen side are too easy to take out.
Yes.
You can take all three moves, but black will take 1, 2, at least 4 moves or 5 moves to clean out those pawns.
Yep, but there is one difference where, because of which black is able to equalize. Black's king does not have a mate threat because his pawn on g7 is moved to h6, and there is no mate threat is going to be there for black. But white has got a back rank threat if he moves away the thing. So with that thing, rook comes to d2, and black takes this. Okay. And white does not go back immediate. Sorry, white takes the pawn on c7, and black does not immediately capture the pawn on immediately does not capture, but he plays rook to d8 first. Okay, rook to d8, and now after this he's going to capture the pawn on b2, and not only that, he's going to probably get his other rook down to d2 also, and that gives him enough counterplay. It is not equal. See, it is like these are the positions where black is actually minus, but he's able to hold on. He's able to hold on because of the counterplay that is there. See, every minus position is not a lost position. You can be in minus position, and still, if you have counterplay, you can hold it. So here there is a clear counterplay for things. So if you want to what is the threat now? First of all, threat is a checkmate for
Rook d1.
rook d1 is a threat. So what white has to do something, right? White has to probably play h3 or something, right? g3 or h3.
Yeah, g3.
Right. So when you do so, because you can't take the c6 pawn right now. So let us say assume you play h3. Now rook takes b2. Okay, so black has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns. White has also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns. Now white, if he takes c6 pawn, he can very easily take a6 also after that. Okay, but if he takes c6, then the other rook will come down to d2. Now there is a 7th rank double rooks are there, which are going to clean up the pawns on f2 and g2 and e2. So, and those double rooks on the 7th rank itself is enough to give you counterplay that white will not be able to do anything. So white will have to defend with the other rook down, and then and he cannot get out of that bind, and that is enough for black to draw. Can you believe that? Ansh?
Yeah, but so maybe the double pawns did help black.
Okay, in a sense, the g7 to h6 did help because there is no back rank.
Yeah, in this specific situation it helped.
Yeah,
probably
it is not in
situations
general. Right. It is not in general. Especially the queens are off the board. If the queens were there and other pieces were there, then the pawns would have been would have been a disadvantage. But
also, if the queen was there, then the g7, then the a1 to h8 diagonal would have been deadly.
Yeah.
Because you'd put your queen on the diagonal or the bishop in the diagonal, and they'd be almost checkmate instantly.
Yeah, but for that you need to have the bishop also. You had to sacrifice that bishop to put to get the pawn on h6, right? So that was not the thing.
Yeah.
But that's why, I mean, it's a good struggle. It is a balanced struggle. It's a very interesting struggle. What we will do next week is that we will look at a couple of more variations. We will probably look at the open variation, which goes e4 like bb5, a6, ba4, and f6, as I said, modern move. And then again there are two main variations after white plays castle. Either you can play bishop to e7, which is the strong point or classical or Chigorian variations, or open variation is knight takes e4. So this is what I was saying, knight takes e4, and then because there is no pawn on d6, and when you play rook e1, the knight can go back to d6. We'll see it next week. Okay, and then the classical variation is bb5, a6, ba4, and f6 castle, bishop e7. This is itself is a start to a number of variations, not just one. Okay, including Chigorian variation, including martial attack. Martial attack is a very deep thing. We will not cover it, but it's a pawn sacrifice by black. One of the most famous pawn sacrifices. It's a gambit, martial gambit also it is called as, and it was employed by American Grandmaster Frank Marshall against Capablanca, and he wanted to surprise. So for a year he was preparing. Marshall was preparing for a year as a secret weapon against Capablanca, and Capablanca was such a great player that on the board he refuted it. I mean, he found so many complicated ways and things that finally actually he won. But attack of Marshall was very, very tremendous attack, and even now it is a very surprise. Even now it is played at the highest levels from both sides. I mean, and then there is Marshall and anti-Marshall, etc. So Anand has written an entire book only on the Marshall Gambit of Ruy Lopez. So it is like one of the 12 variations or 10 variations of Ruy Lopez, and that one variation he has written a book. So
how many books there must be on just one variation?
Yeah, I mean, There are.
But one variation has multiple variations in it.
Yeah. It goes on like that. If you just want to see what it is still not a encyclopedia of chess openings, but it is like a mini encyclopedia if you want to see and how the variations are there and how many depths it goes to. So let me go to training. Modern chess openings, closed games, semi-closed games, Sicilian defense, semi-open, open games. MCO. This is a very famous series of books called. Earlier, it used to be the standard thing. So if you go into this is like a Bible of openings. Okay, if you go into Ruy Lopez defense, there are 398 variations or pages for that. Classification, open variation, exchange variation, they have given 34. Okay, martial counterattack, 54 pages within this. Then anti-martial system, 20 pages. Chinese gambit and classical defense. I think what we wanted to see is what was I telling? I think I wanted to show you only something. Just now what? In what context? I think I wanted to show in martial attack, or what? Can you recall what I was talking? Chinese defense, deferred, Chigorin defense. But like this, I mean, it is, let us say classic defense, not classic defense. I think we went to Chigorin's defense. A4 and castle, bishop e7. Yeah, bishop e7. So after that, when you go into the things, it's so like this is one big page of variations is there, and like this there are 7 pages just in the Chigorin variation. And I was talking about Marshall, right? I think I was talking about a book on Marshall. So yeah, that is where Marshall counterattack. There are 54 pages and E4, NF6. Yeah, NF6 is the most common, this one. BB5, A6, BA4, NF6, castle, bishop E7, rook E1. Then D5, sorry, B5, BB3, D5 now. Or castle, yeah, castle now. And C3 and D5. Yeah, this is the Marshall gambit. And then you go into it, Marshall counterattack. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of theory if you really go into it. Anyway, so but that's why I think we are only doing introduction to openings, and it's okay to go slowly into more and more depth as you go. It is not necessary to jump into all these forests right away. Yeah, this is the Capablanca versus Marshall. This is the original game. Okay, Marshall employed it in 1918. Okay, this was the original game that I was talking about. So this famous game. Okay, so I think with that we are covering for this week. We will meet next week. All right.
Bye, sir. Good night.